Good morning. My name is Matt Jasmine, hearing officer for San Francisco Public Works. Jackie Vo is the clerk for this meeting. This hearing is being recorded via Zoom and will be available after through a link on the San Francisco Public Works website, sfpublicworks.org. As this is a virtual meeting, there's no sign-in sheet. So if you'd like to receive information about the results of the hearing, please send an email to the email address listed on the hearing notice. This public hearing is being held to consider 5 items. Hearing order number 207965 to consider notice of violation 20856. This violation is for excavation without a permit at 200 Maple Street. The second is hearing order number 207998 to consider notice of violation 21242. This is a violation for no street space permit at 59 Grand View Avenue. The third is hearing order number 207999 to consider the notice of violation 14441. This violation is for no tables and chairs permits, obstruction of sidewalk per code 63A, and no diverters per Public Works order 162-240. And this is at 1131 Folsom Street. The fourth is hearing order number 208020 to consider tentative approval of the application for surface mounting facility site permit. This is an applicant is GTE MobileNet, California Verizon Wireless, and the address is the pedestrian island at 10 Augusta Street. The final is hearing order number 208021, also to consider tentative approval of application for surface mounted facility site permit. This is located at 1301 Revere Avenue. My job as a hearing officer is to gather the facts for the hearing item, listen to your testimonies, and help our director of Public Works make determinations. I will not be making any decisions today. Instead, I will forward my findings from this hearing and make my recommendations to the director. The director will make all final determinations. When the director's determinations are made, the department will notify you of them. The hearing will proceed as follows for the 5 cases. I'll ask Public Works staff to speak first and present the case. Then I'll follow with a request for the property owner or appellant to speak. Then any member of the public or witness who wants to speak can. We'll go back to the department if the department would like to address any of the comments, and then to the property owner or appellant again, if there are any other rebuttals that they'd like to make. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. The clerk will monitor the time for all speakers. When you hear the first bell, it'll mean that the speaker has 30 seconds left to speak. If you're a party to any of the cases today, I will call on you to speak. If you'd like to use visual materials in your presentation, please let me know. If you're a member of the public who'd like to speak, wait for me to call for public comment, then use the Zoom raise your hand feature if you're on a computer to get in the queue to speak, or if you're joining by phone, dial *9 to join the queue. When it is your turn to speak, I'll call on you. You may need to dial *6 to unmute yourself. Comments and questions should be addressed to me and not to the department or the applicant. If you cannot finish your comments within the allotted time, you may submit written testimony to me by the end of this hearing. If I feel the question is warranted, I'll ask it. After all the comments are completed, I'll close the item. That concludes item number 1 on the agenda. And before we start to consider the hearing items, the hearing is open for public comment. Members of the public may address the hearing officer on matters that are within the department's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda. Are there any public comments at this time? There are no public comments, then we will close the public comments item. Jackie, are there any comments? Seeing none, we'll begin the hearing with the first item on the agenda, which is order number 207965. May I have the Public Works representative, Jessica Salmi, present this order?
Good morning, Jessica Salami, Public Works. This is for order number 207965, the address of 200 Naples Street. NOV number 20856. Next slide. On October 5th, 2022, an inspector responded to a complaint regarding an unpermitted curb cut. The inspector issued a notice to repair number 1228141 to restore the curb cut within 30 days. On February 16th, 2023, an inspector via email notified that the curb must be restored and the hump in the sidewalk removed with the permit. On March 20th, 2023, as the condition has not changed and a permit was not obtained for the removal, an inspector issued notice of violation number 20856 for excavating without a permit at a $1,000 per day. Multiple attempts have been made to have the owner restore the curb cut. This is a copy of the notice of violation. And for initial photos from October 5th, you can see where it says restore the curb for the illegal driveway that was installed. Notice was posted on the door. Multiple emails to the property owner and the real estate company between the planning department. Photo on the right from September 22nd. The issue is still not resolved. Next slide. Additional inspection photos from March 20th. Issue still not resolved. Next slide. The DBI building department database from the permit showing in September 29th, 22. Approval of the ADU does not relieve the owner from complying with local code requirements concerning the right of way, adding a new curb cut. In October, approved revision, approval of the ADU does not relieve the owner from complying with local code requirements concerning the right of way, removing curb cut. In November of 2022, approval of the ADU does not relieve the owner from complying with local code requirements concerning the right of way, removing the curb cut. To this date, no permit has been approved. The work is still outstanding. I have multiple email communications between myself, my manager, Michael Lennon, and the property owner, Patrick. We're relaying information to him to apply for a street improvement permit to remove the curb cut, as it was not approved. All the work within the public right of way was not permitted. I'm done.
Thank you, Jessica. Now I'll ask the property owner or the appellant or the property owner for a comment.
Hello, this is Patrick Gallagher. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please go
Oh,
ahead.
good. All right. No, I have a permit in hand for the driveway. It was approved, and I also obtained a sidewalk permit. I received a notice from Don Doan, I think back in October, like you were referring to. And I thought we had straightened all that stuff out. I sent him all my permits, all my applications. I sent him the drawings, the approvals. And I thought he dropped it because I never heard back from him. And then I guess in February or March, I received a violation for excavating the street without a permit. And so I talked with Michael Lennon, and he said, no, don't worry about that, because I never excavated anything and I didn't touch the street. And I had previously, or actually twice, received a permit for the sidewalk, for minor sidewalk encroachment for both the street gardens, the street trees, and what I understood was also the driveway. You know, we did it all at the same time, but after the permit was issued. Now, Clinton Choi had made a comment that everybody seems to be sticking to. It's that it's the owner's responsibility to obtain right-of-way permit. Well, I was under the understanding, I was in contact with Clinton Choi, that I had all the proper permits. We sent emails back and forth. Again, I shared the drawings and the permits with him. I have a job card in hand. The driveway is clearly on the drawings. It shows new saw cut, restored driveway. It doesn't say restore sidewalk, it says restore driveway. That's where the driveway always was. The neighbor next door had filled it in while the place was vacant, well before I bought it. So anyways, I thought I was in compliance. I pulled like, I don't know, 4 different permits. Under the advice of Michael Lennon, I pulled a street improvement permit, and I forget, oh, this guy Nicholas came back and said, the driveway is illegal. So I don't know what else to do. I mean, I've been going around and around with this for 2 years now. I pulled every permit I've been asked to do. I've pulled every permit under the sun. From what I can see, street and mapping, they only require a minor sidewalk encroachment permit, which I thought I had pulled twice now. So I didn't get red tagged for the gardens or the street trees. I don't understand why I'm getting tagged for the driveway.
Thanks for that, Patrick. Is there any comment from the public? If so, please raise your hand. Or press *9. Jessica, do you want to comment on Mr. Gallagher's statements?
Yes, so I'm gonna have Christina put on the screen our permit database. Here's our permit database where there are no permits applied for or approved for 200 Naples Street. An application was submitted, which was rejected for the illegal driveway, because Mr. Gallagher is trying to keep the illegal driveway, which planning has already denied. Planning will not approve the driveway curb cut. Also, Christina, can you show the Google Maps image? Google Maps images here. The latest date we can get is 2017. There was no driveway installed at this location.
Just
I have
one-
photos. I
Go-
have photos of the driveway where it used to be. I have photos of the curb cut. I've sent all that stuff in. I sent it in to Don Doan. I've sent it in to Clinton Choi. I don't know if I sent it into Miss Salome, but I've sent it to everybody that's had an issue with it. I have a job card in hand. It's stamped approved on the job card by Public Works and the PUC. I have an approved set of drawings. I have a job card and a permit in hand for the driveway. It is not illegal. I have pulled 2 sidewalk permits. It's all been approved. Why do you guys keep calling it illegal? It's been approved. I have the permit in hand. Planning did not turn down the driveway. What you're referring to is a variance hearing that I went to over a year ago, and that was thrown out by the Board of Supervisors. Planning no longer has the purview of ADUs.
There
That was
no
changed as
permit.
of July 1st, 22.
There was no permit for the driveway that was installed. There is no.
I have it in
permit.
hand. I'm looking at it.
A sidewalk permit does not allow you to excavate the curb. It only allows you to excavate sidewalk.
I pulled the permits that were demanded of me. This didn't come up when Don Doan brought it up. I showed him all the permits I had and he let it go.
Don Doan does not deal with permits.
Well, how am I supposed to know that? You know, if somebody tells me I need to pull a permit and I pull it, and then they say, well, you need to pull another one, and I pull it, and I have a job card in hand, and I've got an approved set of drawings, the job card is stamped approved by both DPW and PUC, as well as building. And planning actually insisted that I move the driveway into the buildable area of the lot. So planning approved it as well, even though as of July 1st, 22, they no longer have purview over ADUs and thereby off-street parking. And under 9517, which I qualify under, it allows me parking there. Now, I can prove that that's where the driveway has been since 1907. But even if I don't, under 9517, it says I'm allowed to park anywhere on the lot, including but not limited to side by side, tandem, covered, uncovered, or by mechanical automobile lifts. That's the law. I've complied with the law for the last 2 years, every step of the way. And every time I think I'm done, somebody sticks their foot out and cites me for something else, like excavating a street. I didn't excavate anything. The driveway was there. All we did was chip the concrete away that was poured on top of it and refinish it. That's it. And I pulled 3 permits for the sidewalk so far. 3. If I need a 4th, I applied for a 4th, and then Nicholas said, because of all your comments, that the driveway is illegal. when, in fact, I have a permit in hand. Everything's been approved, except for this guy Nicholas or
Okay.
you.
I think, I'm sorry to interrupt you there. I've let you kind of run over time here. My apologies. Jessica, do you feel confident that we have all the documents that, Mr. Gallagher has been describing in terms of permits?
I still do not have an application for a street improvement permit approved, nor has the work been completed to restore the curb.
Okay, I would advise, Mr. Gallagher, if you submit all the documents that you have, that at least would give us a chance to review what you're describing. All we have to go with is the database and the descriptions that are associated with each of the permits. So if you can submit the job cards and permits that you have, that would be useful. And with that,
Do I send them to Jessica?
you can submit them to the email that's provided in the hearing notice. You should have emails that are listed there.
I'm looking. Let me see. Well, I have Jessica
You have my-
Salome.
You have my email address. We were just emailing this morning.
Yeah, no, I have yours. Yeah, that was my first question. Do I email it to
You can
you?
submit all the documents to me and I'll get them over to the hearing officer.
All right.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
when I get back to my lab, I'll do that today.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, with that, we'll move on to the next hearing number, which is 207-998. And I'll ask Jessica Salome to present on this matter as well.
Jessica Salome, Public Works again, presenting on behalf of the department for NOV number 21242 for the location of 59 Grand View Avenue. On Friday, January 27th, around 1 p.m., an inspector responded to a complaint regarding scaffolding on the sidewalk at 59 Grand View Avenue. Upon arrival, the inspector found scaffolding in the public right-of-way with no public works permit. The inspector then issued a correction notice number 21242 to the property owner to obtain a street space permit within 72 hours. On Tuesday, January 31st, 2023, around noon, a follow-up inspection was performed and no permit had been applied for. The inspector then issued notice of violation 21242 for no street space permit at $1,000 per day. The street space application was submitted on February 1st, 2023, and the violation was closed out with a one-day fine of $1,000. This is the appeal letter from the property owner, Michelle Acevedo. A copy of the correction notice on top. You can see it was issued on January 27th at 12:46 p.m. And then the notice of violation was then issued on January 31st at 11:40 a.m. As no permit was pulled. These are initial photos from the original site inspection. From the 27th. From the 31st, our follow-up inspection. Still no permit approved. This is the permit database showing that the permit was pulled on February 1st at 11:39 a.m. And a copy of the invoice for the violation. That's all I have.
Now I'll ask the property owner for comment.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, yes. Hi. Um, my name is Michelle Azevedo, and I am not computer literate, so I'm at the senior center, and they're giving me some help getting on the Zoom here, so I can talk to you about the permit. So I received the notice without a permit. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of things happening at my house, which is a lot of weather that's not that great from 22 to the present. So I've been going in and getting permits because I can't do it online. I'm not able to efficient to do it. So I've always got my permits online. I'm 74 years old. My partner is 65 years old. We've had this building. I've done all the work on my own. So I go in and get a permit. I missed this one, unfortunately, but it was 72 hours. So when I was able to get away, I got the permit, and my assumption it was business hours. So I got the permit at 11:39, and I think that issue on Friday was 12:46 or something like that. Yeah, so it was within that time of business hours. I don't know that you can get a permit. I was not able to find anyone, a point person to speak with to give me any information. I thought about that, and I thought that if I could talk to somebody, then they would tell me, well, yeah, you're fine. You got the permit, when I got this second notice on February 6, 23. So when I got that notice, I called to let someone know, which it says on the bottom of that letter from Jonathan Vang, who is not the street inspector anymore. And so I went into the office to talk to him because can't do it. I had, after I called and left a message on the day, I think it was, you have to respond within 10 days. Well, that was the 10th day when I got the notice. So I called that evening and left a message saying that I had already gotten a permit, to please contact me, gave the number. And I didn't receive anything the next day, which was a Monday. So I left another message on the phone number on Jonathan Dang's letter from February 6, 2023 at 628-271-2000, and left another message saying that I had sent out a letter explaining my situation with our lives. And I did not receive a phone call then also. So my understanding is that letter was not received. I sent another letter. I was in Portland, and I sent it from there, and it seems like that was not received either. So I went into the office on, I think it's third floor, fourth floor, not sure, and spoke with someone and physically gave that paperwork to them because they hadn't received it in the mail. So anyway, my assumption was that I was within the 72-hour period of filing for a permit. My apologies for missing it. We've had a lot going on in our world, and so is everybody else. The weather was not forgiving for us, and so that was part of the issue. We were painting, and we ran into some dry rot. So we had some trim that we had needed to fix. Trying to find somebody to do that was difficult. To find somebody that would do that small bit of work. So the weather was raining, then it wasn't raining. Then 2 days it's raining, and then it's not. Then it is and it isn't. When I pulled that permit on the 2nd the 1st of February,
Sorry to interrupt you. You just have a few more seconds here to
I
wrap up
put
your
it in
comments.
for 2 months because I wasn't sure of the weather. I thought the weather would be okay, and then it start raining again. So then I just pulled the scaffold down, basically, and it's still the primer's on it, but the paint is not. So we had a Waldorf preschool there, and now we don't have it there anymore. We're losing lots of income. I'm tapped into my emergency funds. So if you will, please understand our situation. I have contacted many people to try to get some answers. I talked to Mr. Vang, I talked to Nathan Simon, I talked to Michael Lehman, I talked to George, I don't know his last name, and he was actually the best contact. He at least called me back. And then eventually I got a hold of Christina. She called me months later. And then I get another letter that's, telling me that
Okay.
I
I
was
think we
able to
have
get
a
a,
good picture of it. Thank you for giving us so much detail, Mr. Azevedo.
I think that your Department of Public Works needs to be refined a little better before, issuing, this is a residential situation.
Yeah,
It's not
I get
commercial.
it. I'm sorry to
What
cut
I'm
you off,
saying?
but we
Yeah,
just have to
that's
kind of
okay.
move on
Sure.
to any rebuttal or comments from Public Works.
Sure.
Jessica, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comments on this case, this hearing number? If there are no other comments, then I'll close this item. And we'll move on to the third item on the docket. And that's order number 207999. May I have the Public Works representative, Jessica Salome, present on this matter?
Jessica Salome, Public Works again, and the matter of 1131 Folsom Street, NLB number 144441 for Rocco's Cafe. Next slide, please. On Thursday, March 16th, 2023, around 2 o'clock, an inspector responded to a complaint regarding the tables and chairs and a sidewalk A-frame on the sidewalk at 1131 Folsom Street. Upon arrival, the inspector found tables and chairs in the public right-of-way without a permit, missing diverters. When attempting to talk to the owner became aggressive and threatening, and the inspector left. Following day, around noon, the inspector revisited the location and, as the condition remained the same, issued and posted correction notice 14441 to Rocco's Cafe during business hours to apply for a permit and remove the bench and sidewalk and A-frame from the sidewalk. On Wednesday, April 5th, 2023, around 11 a.m., a follow-up inspection was performed. As conditions remain the same, the inspector issued notice violation 14441 for no tables and chairs permit, no diverters, and obstruction of the sidewalk for a total of $300. As of May 4th, no application for the permit has been submitted. This is the appeal letter from Rocco's Cafe. This is the correction notice on top was issued on March 17th at 11:33 a.m. It was posted on March 17th at 11:33 a.m. And on the bottom is the notice of violation, which was posted on April 5th at 11:04 a.m. The original inspection photos, you can see the tables and chairs, a sidewalk A-frame and a bench in the right of way, all with no permits, no diverters. And the next set of photos, follow-up inspection on the 17th. And in the next photos, the inspection from April 5th, still same condition. Bench in the right of way, sidewalk A-frame, tables and chairs, no barriers. Photo of the posted notice on the window. A copy of our database showing no permits for Rocco's Cafe, nor the address of 1131 Folsom Street. A copy of the invoice showing that $300 for the total violation. I'm done.
Thank you, Jessica. I'd like to ask the property owner for comment. Jackie, is the property owner available?
Nobody raising their hand.
We'll go on to the public. Is there any public comment? I have a follow-up question for you, Jessica. So I know that there are outstanding fines that have been attached to the violation and still no permit. If the property owner does get a permit and make the payment, then the issue is essentially resolved. But if they don't get a permit but make payment, will they just continue to accrue more fines?
Yes. We can issue daily violations. And all unpaid violations go to the Bureau of Delinquent Revenue. And a hold will be put on their business license.
Thank you for that.
And also.
Hello? Is anybody there?
Yes,
Can anyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Okay. Oh my God, I've been trying for like 5 minutes. All
We're
right,
about to
I'm
get
the
it.
property owner. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm the property owner of Rocco's Cafe, and I can explain what happened. I've been here 32 years at this location, 90 years in San Francisco. This is strictly a discrimination. I was out front checking the meters that they're putting in, and Mr. Garcia became irate because I was asking questions about the electronic meters before he gets in his truck. He says, oh, by the way, those tables and chairs are illegal. Okay, so first of all, I'm in front of a bike lane, and there's still COVID going on. San Francisco keeps doing it. So I have no way for a parklet. I'm not allowed to have a parklet. The tables and chairs, they're not really tables and chairs. They're two little 20-inch tables. There is illegal ramps next to me that you cannot walk on that side of the building. There are business doors that come out, and they come the wrong way. So that as soon as you open up a door from a business, you can't see it opening. It slam right into you. There is fire valves to the buildings that are stuck out. There is trees. There is racks for scooters. All these things are on the sidewalk, and my bench is between two trees, and my little sidewalk sign is between two trees and poles. Like I said, they have all these poles going down the street, fire hydrants and everything. That law that is implied is very, very old. They didn't put in all those different racks and scooters sticking out. At the same time, I've talked to Matt Dorsey, who comes in here. I've talked to Kamala Harris, who's a customer of mine, the vice president. I've talked to everyone. Everyone says the same thing to me. They feel for me, but San Francisco is so hard to deal with, and they don't accept me at all. And the reason why is discrimination. I'm so upset and tired of everything. I have so many pictures of my neighbors. I don't even have to get in my car. My neighbors all around. It doesn't matter if they're selling realty. It doesn't matter if they have a restaurant. There are sidewalk signs on the curb everywhere I go. Their benches are outside. I see tables. I don't even need diverters. This is only a 20-foot wide building. It is completely discrimination. And I think at this point, if there's a problem, I think I need to leave. I think Rocco's needs to go after 90 years, just like all the other businesses. This is a small business that's still during COVID, and they still announce it on the news every night. And people are afraid to come inside. And I have two 20-inch tables on a 20-foot wide storefront. What if I put a tent out front? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely pure discrimination for a business owner that pays his taxes. I clean the streets. And final notice, here's the other one. When he put the first notice up, he put it on with painter's tape on a wet window during a storm. The time I came upstairs, it was gone. So I had to wait for the next one. I didn't even know what it was.
You have
The
30
first one was
seconds
completely gone.
to wrap up your comments.
So I'm done, and I don't know what to do. I think it's time probably really basically to leave San Francisco altogether after 90 years. I have all these pictures and photos. I wanted a hearing in person. I don't even get that. This is crazy. I
Thank
can't
you.
even get a personal. So I'm bringing pictures down to 49 South Van Ness, and hopefully I can meet Jessica Salami.
Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Don Dial, the owner of Rocco's Cafe. All your local politicians eat here, and they all like laugh at me. They all laugh at me. They go, "Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous."
Okay, thank
I
you.
mean, what am I doing?
Thank you for your comments. Jessica, is there any response you'd like to make to the comments?
No,
Any, we'll move on to a public comment. Any members of the public that would like to comment on this case? I just have one question for the property owner. Don, I didn't catch your last name. You said it was
Dial.
Dial.
D-I-A-L.
Thank you. Is there any reason other than your frustration? I can hear your frustration that you haven't submitted for a permit to handle this matter. We must have lost them. Okay, with that, I'll close the item. We'll move on to the next order number. May I have the Public Works representative make the presentation? This is order number 208020.
Hey, Matt, can you give Kimberly Bustos access for a panelist? She's gonna be presenting for the remaining items. And Gregory P. Slocum.
Okay.
Good
Jackie,
morning.
can you give access to the Kimberly and Gregory?
Just there.
Okay, thank you.
Can I share my screen? Oh, I found the button. Okay. Can you see my screen here?
Yes,
Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberly Bustos, representing San Francisco Public Works, Bureau of Street Use and Mapping. Surface mounted facilities are utility facilities installed directly on the public sidewalk above the surface of a street. Public Works issues surface-mounted facility permits for standalone personal wireless service facilities under Public Works Code Article 27 and Public Works Order 206293. The Public Works Bureau Street Use and Mapping has scheduled this hearing for a GTE MobileNet of California Limited Partnership Verizon Wireless Surface-Mounted Facility Application 22 SMF 00064, shown on the screen here. The application is for a standalone pole for a personal wireless service facility at the pedestrian island in front of 10 Augusta Street. The issue in this hearing is whether Public Works should approve Verizon Wireless's waiver of the pre-application approval process and Verizon Wireless's proposed location for its standalone pole for a personal wireless service facility. On December 8, 2022, the applicant held a community meeting at the Bayview Linda Brooks Burton Library to present both the preferred location and feasible location, as well as answer any questions or concerns the community may have. No residents attended this community meeting. Upon submission of the preferred location list, the planning department found that the proposed surface-mounted facility would not significantly detract from the character of the adjacent residential, commercial, mixed-use districts, scenic vistas, or potential and/or known historic buildings or districts. The application was also referred to the Department of Public Health, who determined that the antenna's utility pole installation will be in compliance with the FCC standards and would not produce radio frequency energy exceeding the FCC public exposure limits. The Bureau of Street Use and Mapping allowed Verizon Wireless to mail and post a notice of intent to submit application for surface-mounted facility site permit to obtain an SMF permit for a standalone personal wireless service facility. As required by the Public Works Code and Public Works Order 206293, and as shown in Verizon Wireless's signed affidavits, this notice was sent on March 31st to persons owning or occupying property within 300 feet along either side of the proposed location, mailed to neighborhood associations within 300 feet, and posted in conspicuous places within 300 feet of either side of the proposed location. Public Works received 21 protests to their proposal, all of which Verizon has responded to. Upon receipt of the protest, the Bureau of Street Use and Mapping scheduled this hearing. The plan set, photo simulations, objections, as well as a letter from the applicant have been uploaded to the public hearings folder. Representatives of Verizon Wireless, Modus, and Hammett and Edison are also present at this hearing today to answer any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. Now may I have the applicant address their comments?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
May I have permission to share my screen, please?
Yes, yeah, we'll give you permission.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, perfect. Good morning. My name is Melanie Sengupta. I'm outside counsel for Verizon Wireless. I'm joined today by my colleague, Paul Albritton, representatives from Verizon and Modus, and also a third-party engineer from Hammett and Edison. As Ms. Bustos stated, we're here today for this surface-mounted facility permit. This is a standalone pole with a small wireless facility at the top of it. These are small, low-powered, short-range facilities designed to fill in gaps that larger macro sites can't reach. This is very low powered. This facility has an effective radiated power of only 193 watts. There are more than 900 small cells located throughout the city, and Verizon's preference is to put small cells on existing infrastructure where that's possible. Unfortunately, here, this neighborhood is mostly served by PG&E poles. We evaluated, you can see on the screen, 15 PG&E poles in the area. And we have a detailed write-up, preceding this diagram that talks about why each of these poles is not technically feasible under GO 95 and PG&E standards. So unfortunately, we weren't able to locate on any of these poles. So as a result, as Ms. Bustos said, Verizon Wireless had a community meeting showing two different locations, which are marked here on the map for a standalone pole. The first one is this pedestrian island here, and the second one is in the right-of-way adjacent to a home. This map here demonstrates the limitations as to where these standalone poles can go. This is a combination of DPW's regulations and also PG&E's and the California PUC's regulations as to where these facilities can be placed. So these were the only two locations. Verizon preferred the one that was at the pedestrian island because it puts it at more than 40 feet away from the nearest residence. The planning department and DPW reviewed the site and agreed with us. The planning department made findings. These were attached to the letter that we submitted to you last week. So the hearing officer's scope here is to determine whether or not Verizon has picked the best location. And again, we're comparing a location on a pedestrian island versus this location here, which is closer to a residence than we would like it to be. The concerns raised in the protests ranged from 4 different topics. The first one was related to aesthetics. Here, the facility complies with the planning department and DPW's placement and design criteria. The pole itself is 25 feet tall. It's about 8 inches wide, and the shroud at the top is only 25.3 inches. One of the other comments that we heard was a desire for a street tree. Verizon Wireless has agreed to pay an in lieu fee for a street tree, I think in the amount of around $2,300. We have also, based on the protests, reached out to Buff and let them know that the public would like a street tree in this area, and we're waiting to hear back from them. One of the other protests raised an issue regarding traffic safety. Again, these are not, the standard cabinets that go in the public right-of-way. This is a thin pole with a small footprint. So we don't think that there are any traffic safety issues here. And then lastly, there were some issues raised regarding RF safety, radio frequency emission safety. The FCC sets the RF exposure limits, and federal law prohibits a city from denying an application on the basis of RF, so long as the facility complies with exposure limits. We have Manas Reddy, who's a California licensed engineer with Hammett and Edison. He's prepared a report. That report is attached to the letter that we sent to everybody. I'm going to ask him in just a moment to speak to that report. But if this location is approved, then DPH, San Francisco's Department of Public Health, will peer review this report. And usually they add 2 conditions to the permit. One requires post-installation testing to confirm that the facility complies with the FCC limits. And the second condition requires Verizon to have testing done from any resident's home if they request it. So I'd like to defer the rest of my time to Manas Reddy to speak to the RF safety issue in the RF report.
You have 30 seconds.
Is the clerk able to unmute Manas Reddy?
We'll have that done.
Hi, good morning. My name is Manas. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. Melanie, if you can keep the screen on and scroll down to the page number 2. If you can see on our report, we have evaluated the site for the art of safety compliance, and Verizon is proposing to operate only in the 28 gigahertz band. If you see on item number 6, the effective radiated power is only 193 watts, which is 10 times or 100 or 20 times lesser compared to any macro sites anywhere in San Francisco area. So this is really low power. And also we have evaluated the exposure levels at nearby residences and at the ground for any person inside the residence on the roof. It's well below the public limit what's set by FCC. The FCC, it's 100 times, almost 80 times, if you see 90 times below the FCC limits. If you see on item number 7, it's just 1.4% of the set limit by FCC on any nearby residence, and at ground on report on item number 8, we can see for any person on ground, it's just 0.71%. It's way below what the FCC has said. Also note that our calculations involve a lot of assumptions. So they're all way higher numbers than when you go actually on the site and measure it. So these are worst case estimations. So when the worst case estimation is so below, so these are really negligible numbers. We don't see any safety concerns with respect to RF emissions at any nearby residence for any person inside the house.
Sorry to cut you off.
Or any person on the ground.
Your time is up. My apologies. Thank you for your comments. Now we'll move on to any member of the public or witness who would like to speak on the matter. Jackie, are you seeing any hands raised? Or any members of the public who are ready to speak?
So far, I haven't seen any.
We'll go back to Kimberly. Is there any other comment that you'd like to make? To address the applicant's comments?
I think there's, I think Sally is trying to speak. I have no
Okay.
additional comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hi, Matt. Thank you for giving me the time. I'm a resident of the Silver Terrace neighborhood. I've lived here for the past 4 years. I know many of my neighbors, many of whom don't speak English as their first language. They speak Chinese or Spanish. And so even coming to this, and there's a lot of like low tech in my neighborhood. So coming to a hearing like this is just, you know, out of the way for them. So in talking to my neighbors, I just wanted to raise some concerns. One, what you don't actually see in the plans is that that specific triangle is an entranceway into the Bayview. And we've, as a neighborhood, we've been wanting to beautify that triangle for a long time because there's a lot of dumping that happens. Partially, it's a neglected space. You have at least, you have one utility pole. I think there's at least 2 other poles that mark, I think one is like a stop sign, one might be like a traffic pole. So there's a lot of just, you know, it's not a very well cared for space. And my concern is that if we add another pole, this is not a very big triangle, mind you. This ends up being a triangle of poles. And that's what you don't see in the picture. It's also a place, like I said, there's dumping. And what you don't see is that near these poles is where people tend to dump. They don't just dump it on the curb, but they actually enter the triangle and they lean the garbage or they lean these large pieces of furniture or debris onto these poles. And so if we add another pole to this triangle, we are going to be unintentionally inviting a lot more dumping. And this is a triangle that also happens to be a bus stop. There's children, we have a high school and a middle school in the area, and they use this bus stop every day. There's a lot of activity. And so we want to make sure that this triangle is a space that people can enjoy and that the community can enjoy. We want to beautify it. And the other thing that I had seen in the notice is that typically Verizon or these companies will come in if they are wanting to propose a surface mounted object, they're required to plant a tree, or they will pay a fee in lieu of planting the tree. Now, it looks like they've chosen to pay a fee instead of mounting a tree, instead of, beautifying the space. And so
Sorry to
that's
interrupt. You have 30 seconds, but can you also state your full name for the record?
Yes, my name is Sally Lim. Yeah, and so I think that's also just a concern, right? Instead of beautifying the space, we're seeing a lot more of these like utility poles, these different sort of structures being put into this triangle, which is one of the few public spaces that our neighborhood has, and we want to be able to use it just in a way that really enhances the neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments. And I can go back to Kimberly Bustos, but I do think that just to clarify, there was both an in lieu payment for tree planting, and then in addition, Verizon is looking to plant another tree somewhere. And they're working with Buff on that. I did want to ask a clarifying question about potential locations for the planting of the tree. Maybe you can address that, Melanie.
Sure. With respect to the tree planting, we have agreed to pay the in lieu fee, and we have asked Buff about planting that tree in this area. Verizon Wireless aren't arborists. I don't think you want them planting street trees. And with respect to where the street trees can go, that's in Buff's purview. They have different criteria for street tree permits. We're not familiar with that criteria.
So no discussion about potential locations has been started.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Any other comment from you, Kimberly?
I have no additional comments. Thank you.
Could I respond to some of the other concerns that I think her name was Sally had raised?
Yes, Sally Lim. Yes, please.
I just wanted to clarify that the notices that were provided here are, in addition to English, are in 3 other languages, including Chinese. So we try to accommodate as many people as possible to make sure that everybody has proper notice of these facilities. And then with respect to street debris and garbage and dumping, we deal with that in all parts of the city. Planning has proposed conditions. They usually propose conditions that involve, graffiti abatement and things of that nature. So, if anything were done to the pole, Verizon would need to go and clean it up. So I just wanted to be clear about that.
Thank you for those comments. With that, if there are no other community members who'd like to make comment, we'll close the item. Is there anyone else in the queue, Jackie?
Nobody raised their hand.
Okay, we'll move on to the final hearing order number, which is 208-021. Kimberly, I assume that this is also your hearing order that you'll be presenting?
Yes, that's correct. Just sharing my screen again. Please let me know if you can see it. Okay.
You can see it.
Okay, thank you. Good morning again. My name is Kimberly Bustos, representing San Francisco Public Works Bureau of Street Use and Mapping. The Public Works Bureau of Street Use and Mapping has scheduled this hearing for a GTE MobileNet of California Limited Partnership Verizon Wireless Surface Mounted Facility Application 22 SMF 00065. The application is for a standalone pole for a personal wireless service facility at 1301 Revere Avenue, shown on my screen. The issue in this hearing is whether Public Works should approve Verizon Wireless's waiver of the pre-application approval process and Verizon Wireless's proposed location for its standalone pole for a personal wireless service facility. On December 7, 2022, the applicant held a community meeting at the Bayview Linda Brooks Burton Library to present both the preferred location and feasible location, as well as answer any questions or concerns the community may have. One resident attended the community meeting with concerns about RF emissions, which Verizon Wireless answered all questions that she had. Upon submission of the preferred location list, the planning department found that the proposed surface-mounted facility would not significantly detract from the character of the adjacent residential, commercial, mixed-use districts, scenic vistas, or potential or known historic buildings or districts. The application was also referred to the Department of Public Health, who determined that the antennas and utility pole installation will be in compliance with the FCC standards and would not produce radio frequency energy exceeding the FCC public exposure limits. The Bureau of Street Use and Mapping allowed Verizon Wireless to mail and post a notice of intent to submit application for surface mounted facility site permit to obtain an SMF permit for a standalone personal wireless service facility. As required by the Public Works Code and Public Works Order 206293, and as shown in Verizon Wireless's signed affidavits, this notice was sent on April 18th to persons owning or occupying property within 300 feet along either side of the proposed location, mailed to neighborhood associations within 300 feet, and posted in conspicuous places within 300 feet of either side of the proposed location. Public Works received 2 protests to their proposal, both of which the applicant has responded to. Upon receipt of these protests, the Bureau of Street Use and Mapping scheduled this hearing. The plan set, photo simulations, objections, as well as a letter from the applicant have been uploaded to the public hearings folder. This concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Kimberly, now I'll ask the applicant for their comments. Just to reiterate, you have 3 minutes total, including all speakers that you'd like to have present.
Okay, thank you. I'll talk fast. I wanted to make one correction to what Ms. Bustos said, both for this application and the previous one. Under Article 27, there are 2 processes. One is a waiver of the application location approval process, and one is the community meeting route. For both of these applications, we've gone through the community meeting route. We have not gone through the waiver process. So the issue before the hearing officer today is which of the 2 locations is preferred. So this is Verizon's preferred location here. It was the same one Ms. Bustos showed, but from a different angle. And you can see this facility is where 2 rear yards are joining. So it's not directly in front of any one home. we looked at the 10 utility poles that are in the area. And unfortunately, none of them were feasible. There are two locations that we came up with that were feasible. One is the preferred location, which we've showed you already. The second one, you can see over here, it would be right here adjacent to this house, close to this intersection, versus the proposed location is about half a block backwards here, where those two rear yards meet. Planning, like the previous application, approved this location and found it to be preferred. We also had a radio frequency exposure compliance report done here. I will pass it over to Mr. Reddy in just a moment. But here the effective radiated power is 653 watts, and it is less than 5% of the FCC's exposure limits.
Hi, it's the same thing here. Even here, the radiated power is 653 watts because we have additional frequency services. If you see on item 6 compared to the previous location, but this is still way less compared to any other macro site. And we've evaluated residences and ground levels at this location too for any person, and the exposure level is less than 5% of the FCC limits. Like, I want to iterate again that we use, worst case assumptions. So these numbers are calculated levels are way higher, a little bit higher than what actual levels are going to be present at the site when these are constructed. So these are absolutely safe in with comparison to the FCC limits.
Thank you for your comments.
No worries.
Now I'll ask Kimberly, do you have any other comments? Excuse me, I'm sorry. We're supposed to go to the community now. Are there any other public comments or any public comments that we have in the queue? Jackie?
No hands right now.
Is there any clarification you'd like to provide, Kimberly Bustos, at this time?
I have no additional comments, and thank you, Melanie, for clarifying.
Any further clarification from you, Melanie?
No, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. I do have one question. In looking at the two locations that are proposed, the map shows obviously street trees as well as a curb cut that is between the two locations. But it does look like there is some space to move the location number 1 further south along the sidewalk before you reach the curb cut. Is there some flexibility with regard to the exact placement of the proposed location number 1?
Well, we try to locate on property lines where we can, and that way it's not in front of anybody. The location is more than 20 feet from the nearest residential window. There are design and siting criteria that are in the order that Ms. Bustos cited. It's exhibits A1 and G, I believe, to that order. And those are the, those incorporate ADA restrictions as well as minimum distances from driveways, curb cuts, things of that nature, other street furniture in the public right of way. And then obviously we have to comply with GO 95 and distance from the overhead transmission wires that PG&E has going. And on this particular section of the block, there are actually 6 street trees. And when those trees are mature, they interfere with the signal. And so we don't want to cut down any trees. So we don't locate these in between trees. We don't want to do any tree abatement. And so this location not only is on the property line, but it's also far enough away from the street trees so that it's not impeding with signal propagation.
Thank you for that clarity. Jackie, are there any other public comments?
No public comments.
If there are no comments for this item, I'll close the item and make my recommendations to the director. Finally, are there any other public comments for any item on the agenda? This is really reserved for folks who have come late or haven't had a chance to speak. Anyone in the queue, Jackie?
No one raised their hand.
Since there are no other comments, I'll be closing the meeting. This meeting is now closed. Thank you all.